Now, as speculation over the revival of the 2015 Iran nuclear deal continues to mount, Israel says the head of its Mossad spy agency will visit the United States for discussions about the accord. Reports say Mossad chief David Barnea will visit Washington early next month to participate in closed-door meetings with members of Congress. Israel has for a very long time opposed giving new life to the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal. It says a revival of the agreement will facilitate the funding of Iran-supported extremists in the region and will not prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. Iran has time and again denied Israel's charges, claiming its nuclear program is completely safe and for peaceful purposes only. Meanwhile, Iran's Prime Minister says any roadmap to restore Tehran's tattered nuclear deal with the rest of the world must see international inspectors end their probe into man-made uranium particles that were found at undeclared sites in the country.
All safeguard issues must be resolved, and this is a pillar for the talks. Without the settlement of safeguard issues, it's meaningless to talk about an agreement. An agreement must be accompanied by the settlement of safeguard issues and an end to those issues.
In the last few days, reports have surfaced providing more details on the EU's final proposal. The reports say the EU draft includes 4 crucial steps to halt Iran's nuclear activity, and the entire deal will take effect 165 days after it's signed. Additionally, reports say before any agreement is finalised, the sides will reportedly sign a deal that will see Western prisoners freed by Tehran. This in exchange for Iranian assets being unfrozen by Western nations. For more on all of this, we're joined live today by WION's correspondent Jodie Cohen from Ra'anana in Israel. Jodie, it's good to see you. This conversation about the revival of the Iran nuclear deal is clearly not going Israel's way. I mean, there seems no question that the EU and the US are poised to try and get this done. What possible good can the visit of the Mossad chief to the United States play? I mean, there's very little prospect of him being able to turn anything back, is there?
Right, so as you said, Mossad chief David Barnea, he's called it a bad deal, and he's heading to the US next week to try to shape the final deal that is expected to be signed. And this is part of Israel's efforts. Defense Minister Gantz was there last week, and also National Security Advisor Eyal Hulata. Now, they're quite united in their message, saying that this is a bad deal. And Lapid has also expressed how he thinks the deal can be made better. He wants the US to show a credible military threat to get a better deal. He said that that's what convinced Iran to sign last time, with the threat, i.e. the presence of US munitions that can penetrate underground bunkers in the region. Now, he says he wants to have a deal with a later end date, a minimum amount of funds released through lifted sanctions, tighter supervision, which is really crucial, and I'll come to that in a second, and also a deal that addresses Iran's long-range ballistic missile program and what he says is involvement in terrorism. Now, we've heard from this afternoon that President Raisi has said that he won't sign this deal if inspectors continue to investigate undeclared sites. He also threatened seemingly Israel with obliteration if Israel targets Iran's nuclear program. And President Herzog from Israel has come back to him on that, saying he's urging the IAEA to continue with its independent investigations, saying that they're absolutely crucial to preventing Iran from getting nuclear weapons.
So, Jodie, broadly speaking, the Israelis themselves now recognise that this is going to happen. They are trying to mitigate the outcome of this, perhaps in large measure to preserve the strength of their relationship with the United States.
Look, at the end of the day, Israel is treating this as an existential Israel. They're saying this quite openly. Netanyahu, the former prime minister, was very vocal in his opposition to the former deal, famously going to speak to Congress without coordinating that in advance with the White House. Prime Minister Lapid has taken a different tactic. He's opposing the deal as it stands, but he's trying to preserve, as you said, the relationship with the United States, which is very important and which will also be very important to defending West Asia going forward. And as we know, the US has been instrumental in helping behind the scenes to allegedly develop this alliance of countries that both recognize Israel and don't yet recognize Israel in order to unite them to defend West Asia against what they see as a threat coming from Iran.
Jodie Cohen, WION's correspondent in Ra'anana, Israel, reporting live for us on this edition of the programme. Thanks very much indeed. We'll talk to you again soon, Jodie.